Is correctional officer safety a priority at your jail or prison? Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. I saw a survey on Corrections 1 that kind of caught my eye, and there have not been a lot of votes tallied on this, but there's a survey on Corrections 1. Is correctional officer safety a priority at your facility? Right now, today, as of Saturday, March 16th, I believe it is, St. Patrick's Day, the votes are yes, 36% believe that their agency is up to par with correctional officer safety. 33% are saying sometimes. So maybe half the time they are, half the time they aren't. I'm not 100% sure what the sometimes means when people vote sometimes. And then no, we have 30% that say no, their agency is not. So I would love to see what this survey would say if it was mandatory that everyone on the front line in uniform corrections from jails and prisons would vote. There's very few votes so far on this survey. And it's a very interesting survey to me. It's split. 33%, 30%, 36%. It's split very evenly. So there's she's telling me that some agencies are convincing their employees that they're out and watching for their safety. There's 30% that just feel their agency is not watching at all, watching out for their safety, and 33% aren't sure if their management is watching out for their safety. So safety entails a lot. I'd like to know what you think. Is your agency watching out for your safety, correctional officer safety? Now, what does correctional officer safety entail? Oh my gosh, it could be a gamut of things. It details a lot of things. So let's start with supplying you with the right equipment. Do you have the proper equipment to do your job? The equipment is part of correctional officer safety. So there's one thing. You guys tell me things that come off the top of your head. There is also your frontline supervision, doing their rounds, making sure you have everything you need. Are your supervisors coming around? Your sergeants, lieutenants, captains, checking. Hey, you have everything you need. Is everything okay? Are there any problems? You know, that is good supervision, and that is also part of correctional officer safety. Now, here's one we might have a little problem with. Is the correctional officer ratio to inmate up to par? Is it up to par according to your agency's policies and standards? This has a lot to do with correctional officer safety. If I have a policy, for instance, that says we're going to have one officer per 50 inmates, I'm just using this as an example, and we're having one officer to 200 inmates, which has happened in the jails, I know that for sure, and we are now not providing a safe environment for our officers. Now, what can we do about it? Because we all know that staff shortages are now maybe worse than ever. And what is the stigma of staff shortages? Well, that's one of the stigmas is we are not having enough manpower, person power, people power to keep the ratio the way we need it to have correctional officer safety. So maybe some of these no votes, these 30% that said no, they're not feeling safe, maybe staff shortages has a lot to do with that. And I believe it does. Staff shortages is really hurting us bad. State of Florida has 5,000 positions available. 10 people going out the back door and only 5 coming in the front. And I know we're not the only ones. So that's another thing. Officer safety. Are we controlling contraband? Are we doing our job daily to try to control contraband? Because We need to take it upon ourselves as frontline officers to do our controlling of contraband daily, but our supervisors need to ensure that our officers are out there doing some random cell searches every day. Look at the escapes we've had where cell searches were a big part of that. Nobody ever checked the cells. Inmates had tons of contraband. I don't want to get into the escape it anymore thing again, but look, they dug right through their wall and got out. So anyway, those are just some examples. Cell searches must be done. Contraband control. Are we fighting corruption? Of course, you know I'm going to throw that in. Why? Because that is part of officer safety. I'm reading every week from a different jail or prison that officers are bringing in contraband, bringing in weapons, bringing in drugs, all cell phones, all types of things. And as staff members, I mean all staff members, civilian clothes, maintenance man, electric, and uniform. So we have to fight corruption. Is your agency fighting corruption and keeping an eye on staff members that seem to be getting too close and familiar with inmates? That is part of keeping officers safe. Controlling and fighting and weeding out the bad staff members. They are placing our officers in danger. And those are just a few things that I have. When you go outside of the prison and you are transporting inmates to hospital, to dental, to eye appointments, are you sending one officer alone, or are you sending two officers? I believe you should always have two officers. That's the way our state prison does it. Many jails send just one officer with the inmate. But again, what is hurting us in that area? Staff shortages, again, play a huge part in that. And it's not until an incident occurs where an officer is injured, when he or she is alone on an eye appointment, a doctor appointment, dental appointment with an inmate, or an escape occurs, then we decide all of a sudden we're going to start sending two people. So we should not send one person alone, in my opinion. But I've always seen it change after something bad happens, and that's unfortunate. Officer safety is our topic today, and that must be our main priority, folks. Administrators, prison management, legislature, we need your money. We need more money. We need to get some people. We need to get some pay raises. More money in our budget for better equipment, more money for better vehicles so we don't break down on transports and be in the middle of nowhere. If you're like Florida, our prisons are far out from the cities, and the vehicles break down, you are stranded in the middle of the Everglades, folks, with inmates in the van. We need top-of-the-line vehicles for these transports. That's part of officer safety. And some of these vehicles that these officers are having to use, I've been in them. I've been in vehicles that putt along and barely run, and you think, my God, I hope I can make it from here to the hospital and back with this inmate. And then you fill out a form that the vehicle needs to be serviced, and then you notice that it never gets down to maintenance. Did you know that's part of officer safety? Ensuring that transport vehicles are serviced. That's another part of officer safety. Everything we do is part of correctional officer safety. The little things like that. Who thinks of servicing your vehicles for correctional officer safety and making sure they run, making sure they're in good shape? I mean, I know the budget is short. Take those vehicles that aren't so great and put them on the perimeter. They should at least be able to run around the perimeter of your prison or jail, and put the good vehicles online for people to transport. Come on. Wake up. You can't send an officer alone, which most agencies are doing now because of staff shortages, with an inmate on the road in a shot-out vehicle. Officer safety. You're not protecting your officers if you're sending them out in these clunky old vehicles. So see, I'm just trying to open up our minds and think of many, many, many things. There's many more things. Come on. Let me know what you think and what we need to do to help make officer safety better. On this survey, with not many people coming in to take it so far on Corrections 1, we have only 36% saying, yes, my agency is up to par with correctional officer safety. Now, you know me, I always have to make somebody mad. I wonder who those 36% are who voted. Company people, higher ranking, I'm not sure. I would love to think that's frontline 36% that said their agency is up to par. But I would like to see a mandatory vote across the country. And then I'd like to see from every frontline officer, not supervisors, not sergeants and above. I want to see every officer in every jail and prison in the country take that survey on Corrections 1. I'd like to see what numbers we have. Okay, folks? Hope I didn't offend anyone on that one, but I think correctional officer safety is number one. Thank you, and please subscribe to my channel.